Creatine. Simulated renal dysfunction. The myth traces back to a 1998 single case study. Media outlets prematurely extrapolated the data, suggesting that creatine supplementation would stress the kidneys of healthy athletes. The technical reality is different. Creatine naturally elevates serum creatinine, a metabolic byproduct. Uninformed practitioners often mistake this for a high glomerular filtration rate. However, clinical trials confirm that in healthy individuals, the filtration rate remains perfectly stable. Once ingested, creatine is converted into phosphocreatine within the muscle tissue. The excess molecule passes through the nephrons effortlessly as a harmless solute rather than a structural toxin. Verdict: safe. Standard dosing: 3 to 5 grams daily. 0% documented renal toxicity in healthy subjects. BCAAs, the amino acid disconnect. Marketed heavily during the golden era of bodybuilding as the ultimate intra-workout fuel to shield muscles from immediate breakdown, or catabolism. The technical rule states that muscle protein synthesis requires all 9 essential amino acids. Ingesting branch-chain amino acids, leucine, isoleucine, and valine, without the remaining spectrum is biochemically incomplete. It is the metabolic equivalent of having bricks but no mortar. Once BCAAs enter the bloodstream, the synthesis light flickers on due to leucine, but the process halts abruptly. The biological substrate required for a full build is simply missing. Verdict: redundant if total protein intake is met. Use only during extreme, prolonged fasted states. The anabolic window, the post-workout fallacy. For decades, bro science dictated that the body entered a catastrophic catabolic state if a protein shake wasn't consumed within exactly 30 minutes of the final rep. The science is clear. Meta-analyses prove that insulin sensitivity and the window for protein synthesis remain significantly elevated for 24 to 48 hours post-resistance training. The focus belongs on daily protein homeostasis. Nitrogen balance over a 24-hour cycle proves that total daily intake is the primary driver of hypertrophy, not the acute timing of the shake. Verdict: false. No need to rush. Focus on total daily grams per pound rather than the stopwatch. Multivitamins, the bioavailability paradox. The one-pill fix emerged in the 1940s as an insurance policy against nutrient-poor wartime diets. It has since evolved into a multi-billion-dollar industry of low-grade synthetics. The technical conflict occurs because high-dose synthetic vitamins often compete for the same intestinal transporters. For example, excessive zinc can inhibit copper absorption, while high calcium can block magnesium uptake. Within the intestinal lumen, synthetic molecules saturate the receptors. The water-soluble excess is immediately redirected to the bladder for excretion. Verdict: limited efficacy for balanced diets. Oral bioavailability is estimated between 15 and 30% depending on chelation quality. Pre-workouts. Adenosine desensitization. The surge of extreme stimulants has turned pre-workout rituals into an adrenergic peak event, often masking systemic central nervous system fatigue. The technical rule is that caffeine does not create energy. It is an adenosine antagonist. It blocks the receptors that signal tiredness. Continuous use leads to upregulation, where the brain creates more receptors to bypass the block. At the microscopic level, caffeine fits the receptor like a decoy key. After 3 weeks of consistent use, the brain doubles the number of receptors to try and hear the fatigue signal again, creating a high-tolerance loop. Verdict: must be cycled. Recommended 2 weeks on, 1 week off. High risk of adrenal fatigue and chemical dependency. Glutamine, the muscle growth illusion. Often sold as a mandatory supplement for muscle hypertrophy and recovery. The technical reality is that while glutamine is the most abundant amino acid in the body, oral supplementation is largely sequestered by the gut and the immune system before it ever reaches the skeletal muscle. In clinical studies involving healthy individuals with adequate protein intake, supplemental glutamine showed 0 significant advantage for lean mass gains or strength. Verdict: ineffective for hypertrophy. Its true clinical value lies in gut health and severe metabolic stress recovery, not muscle building. L-Carnitine, the fat oxidation myth. Promoted as a fat burner that shuttles fatty acids into the mitochondria to be burned for energy. While the biological mechanism of carnitine exists, oral supplementation does not increase the carnitine content within the muscle cells of healthy people. The body maintains a tight homeostatic control over these levels. Unless you have a clinical deficiency, taking extra L-Carnitine will not accelerate fat loss or improve metabolic rate. Verdict: ineffective for fat loss. Significant results are only seen in chronic, high-dose protocols paired with high insulin levels, which contradicts the goal of fat loss. Vitamin C, the common cold shield. The belief that high doses of vitamin C can prevent the common cold is one of the most persistent myths in modern nutrition. Large-scale meta-analyses covering decades of data show that for the general population, routine vitamin C supplementation does not reduce the incidence of the cold. At best, it may slightly reduce the duration, but it is not a prophylactic shield. The kidneys quickly excrete any dose exceeding the body's immediate saturation point, leading back to the paradox of expensive urine. Verdict: ineffective as a preventative measure. Focus on total micronutrient density rather than isolated megadosing. This concludes the encyclopedia entry on supplement myths, data grounded in clinical evidence. Next chapter: explaining basic supplement concepts you should understand.